Dr. Iqbal is a towering scholar of Islam, worthy of profound respect. And he took on Western scholarship. That scientific method that we spoke about earlier, that if it did not come from observation and from scientific experimentation, it's not knowledge. It belongs to a place in Orlando called Disneyland. He took on this Western, I'm going to use a big word now, he challenged this Western epistemology, or the branch of knowledge which studies knowledge. He challenged it in a profound response, the best that was ever penned by any scholar of Islam. In the first 2 chapters of his book entitled The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, but I suggest that you go to the pharmacy and buy a bottle of Tylenol tablets if you want to read that book. It's not easy. As a master's degree student in philosophy, I had to study that book. I read it 20 times without understanding it. And only when I studied Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran, only then was I able to understand those first 2 chapters of Iqbal. So the world of Islam has a tremendous depth of gratitude to Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. Remember the book, The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam? You don't have to go and buy the book, just go to the internet and type in Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, and you'll get the 9 chapters of the book there, and read the first 2. But in that same book, Dr. Iqbal made a monumental mistake. And it is no disrespect whatsoever to point out a mistake made by a scholar. It does not diminish our admiration of his scholarship. Everybody can make mistakes. And I certainly do not want students who will accept everything that I say uncritically. No, those are dangerous students. I much prefer to have students who will never accept anything that I say until you first studied it carefully. And only when you are convinced that it is the truth, only then do you understand it, you accept it. And if you're not convinced, don't accept it. Iqbal declared, while commenting on the events in Turkey, the collapse of the Ottoman Islamic Empire and its replacement in 1924 with the secular state of Turkey, he commented on what he calls the admirable Turkish ijtihad, that the republican state can function as a substitute for the Khilafah. He never made a bigger mistake in his whole life. And because of that mistake that Iqbal made, so many have since then been misguided in accepting the modern secular state and accepting the system of elections of the modern secular state to form a government that will preside over the shirk. We now have even Islamic parties. I gather you have one right here in Malaysia. And you have them in Tunisia. You have them in Egypt. You have them, the most famous one of all, of course, is in Turkey. And these Islamic parties believe that you can register the Islamic movement as a political party under the constitution of the secular state, and then fight in elections like everybody else fight in elections. And if you win the elections and you take power, then you have a gradual movement, you know. You allow the alcohol for some time and allow the nightclubs and so on for some time, because you don't want to rock the boat, do you? until eventually, incrementally, you'll be able to somehow, with a philosophy called abracadabra, bring Islam. Where is Islamic scholarship today? Is this the Sunnah? That you walk the road of shirk to bring Islam? Mine has been a voice crying in the wilderness for a long, long time. For a long, long time I was saying the US dollar is collapsed, it's going to collapse. And they laughed at me. I gather they're not laughing at me anymore now. No. For a long, long time, since this book appeared, I told them Israel wants to rule the world. And Israel wants to replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world. And they laughed at me. Well, when Israel attacks Iran, let's see who's going to laugh. The Western world, with the mastermind being Dajjal, they needed an international organization that will bring all these secular states, all these republican states under one umbrella. And once you embrace them under one umbrella, you're able to now control them all. And you're on your way to world government. One world government.